Welcome back, my fellow pickleballers. It's Lloyd here from the Pickleball store, and today we're talking about one of my favourite paddles on the market at the moment, and probably one of the most popular double shape on the market, and probably for the rest of time, to be honest, based on its defensive prowess and also how forgiving it makes a paddle. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the ProXR SweetSpot Max. So this paddle is actually the redesigned, the standard paddle released by ProXR last year. This is their new iteration of it, the SweetSpot Max. It comes in 16mm, which is the one I've got here, and it also comes in a 13mm here, which is actually my paddle of choice. As you can see, it's pretty well worn. I always chuck an over grip on as well, so the grip's pretty dirty. But both of these paddles offer something different, so a bit more control in the 16mm, a bit more power, a bit more response in the 13mm. So really something for everyone. And I'm going to dive into what makes the ProXR SweetSpot Max such a fantastic paddle and a choice that many beginners and intermediate players out there should rejoice about, because it is a fantastically fun paddle and very, very forgiving. So stick with me. We're going to talk about all the specifications, what goes into the paddle, and also who uses it as well, because that's equally as important. So first up to say, if there was a design award for the most beautiful paddle on the market, the ProXR new line, or their SweetSpot Max and their Signature series, would be up there. They look incredibly beautiful. They feature some really nice detailing, some very simplistic detailing. Unlike the Zane Navratil paddle and the previous standard, which really weren't anything to be kind of looked at because they just didn't look great, they have done a fantastic job with the design on these, which really make them stand out on the court. From the edge guard, which essentially extends the graphics off the face of the paddle. It's something I've never seen before on a paddle, to the really soft detailing of the same colour edge guard going through the inner lines of the paddle there as well. So it's a beautiful paddle. Comes in various different weight ranges. So if you are interested in the SweetSpot Max, the white and pink colorway come in a lightweight range, whereas the rest of the colors, so you're looking purple, black, blue, iconic blue, in Arctic blue, all of the different colors that aren't pink and white come in a mid-weight range. So if you're someone that suffers with tendonitis, tennis elbow, anything like that, or you just want a lighter swing weight and a lighter paddle, go for the pink and white. If you're not too fussed, you want a bit more plow through, a bit more power behind the shots, a bit more purchase off the surface, stick with a mid-weight. So the lightweight models come in around 7.7 ounces, give or take 0.2 of an ounce, so 7.5 up to 7.9 ounces. And the standard edition, let's say, so all the other colours bar pink and white, except pink and white, are around 8.2 ounces, plus or minus 0.2. Most of the ones we have in stock are all around that kind of 8.2 ounce. You very rarely find one higher than that. However, there are certain circumstances where they are, hence why it's in a weight range. I love the white. I like the lightweight, the ability to swing the paddle faster through the air, the way it feels in my hand. The more lead I can add to the side of it as well really, really does help my game. So I stick with a white. However, pro players in the UK, like Thadia Locke, stick with the purple edition. I will put some clips up on the screen now of Thadia in motion playing with the SweetSpot Max. She actually uses the purple one. Fantastic player, probably one of the UK's, if not the UK's best player at the moment, uses the SweetSpot Max. So if it's good enough for Thadia, it's probably good enough for you as well. So let's talk about the shape. James Ignatovic recently posted that most players in the next few years will be going for pan-shaped paddles, like the Scorpius, like the Nova R2 shape by Rhombus, and also like the SweetSpot Max. This Max shape, which is 16 inches in length, 8 inches in width, is by far the most forgiving shape. So if you are specifically a doubles player, a player that plays doubles only, or you're looking for a doubles paddle, the pan-shaped style with a bigger head and a shorter handle, or even a handle that's 5.5 inches but a wider paddle face, these are going to be fantastic options for you. mainly because they pack in a really high level of defensiveness, response, and also control. I find the SweetSpot, hence the name SweetSpot Max, is absolutely ginormous on these paddles. Probably the biggest sweet spot I have felt on a paddle. I've recently moved over to the Esquire by Paddle Tech, so the ESQC. It's a really, really good poppy paddle, but nothing seems to defend the ball just quite as well as the SweetSpot Max. And there's still power behind it, and we're going to dive into more of the specifications now. So in terms of the paddle itself, the inside is what you would typically see for most control-based paddles on the market, or most paddles on the market, which is a polypropylene honeycomb. So the core of the paddles are polypropylene. You then have the Ultra T700 raw carbon fiber, which, if you know anything about ProXR, they create some of the grittiest paddles on the market, and grit that lasts as well. I've been using this white SweetSpot Max 13mm for about 6 months now, and actually the grip is still there. It's there when I need it. It produces a really high level of spin. The top spin you're able to generate, the back spin, the slice you're able to generate through this paddle is fantastic. It also includes a shock foam edge perimeter. So talking about the shock foam is basically an edge foam injection around the side. The premise behind this is it expands the sweet spot on the face. It also reduces the amount of shock that goes through the handles. I also find that this paddle is very, very responsive thanks to that edge foam injected around the edge as well. So it creates a massive sweet spot, hence the SweetSpot Max. I cannot tell you how good the sweet spot is on this paddle. So it comes in a length of 16 inches, a width of 8 inches. The handle is super thin, so you might want to chuck on an overgrip. I always chuck on overgrips on these paddles. It's 4 inches in thickness, which is probably the thinnest paddle handle on the market I have seen. If you've seen one thinner, comment below. I'd love to find out about what paddle you're using as well. But this is 4 inches in thickness, so very, very thin. The handle length is 5.25 inches, so if you're a two-handed backhand player, I actually do play with two hands on the backhand. It's quite difficult. I don't know if you can see through the camera there. It's quite difficult to grip the entire paddle's face. However, you can do it. There is enough length on the handle. If you do play with two hands, just about, you do end up crossing over to the paddle's face for extra control. But as they say with double-handed backhands, put a finger on the back anyway. So I don't find it impacts too much, but just be wary. If you are after a longer handle, maybe the Signature Series is the better option for you, coming in at 6 inches in length, which is huge. Whereas this is only 5.25 inches. Even feels a bit smaller than that. It feels about 5 inches, to be honest, or plays very similar to a 5-inch handle. It is also USA Pickleball approved, so it can be used in all USA Pickleball approved tournaments. So if you're playing tournaments around the world, those that are backed by the USA Pickleball Association, then these paddles can be used in it. There's a lot of paddles, a lot of speculation around what paddles can or cannot be used. This is one of the paddles that you'll have no problems using in any of those tournaments. They are used by some of the best players in the world. Like I mentioned earlier, Thaddeus Locke uses it here in the UK. Fantastic player. These paddles are also thermoformed, and that adds additional power to the paddle, an additional pop off the face. So as a paddle, it feels incredible to use. It's not as poppy as the Gen 3 paddles you may be used to. However, it does feel very nice. I would say the best part of this paddle is that defensiveness, and also the resettability is insane. You can pretty much stand mid-court, paddle by your ankles, just defending overheads constantly, and every shot landing back in the kitchen. So this paddle combines defensive prowess, maneuverability, reset capability in a control-minded yet balanced paddle. It is one of my favourite paddles ever on the market, and a paddle that I have gone to time and time again, mainly based on how easy it is to just pick up and play. This is a SweetSpot Max by ProXR, one of the best control paddles that I have used in 2024. The SweetSpot Max. The Max shape is fantastic for those that like to play defensively. If you have any questions at all about the SweetSpot Max or any of the other paddles we stock, drop us a comment below, reach out to us online, comment on our socials, whatever you need to do to get in touch. We're happy to help. I've been Lloyd from the Pickleball Store. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions at all, let me know, and we'll see you in the next video.